3, it's time for Books in Focus, where we talk about next month's exciting releases. I am Nicole, this is Christine, this is Jenny. Thank you all for joining us. We like to start out with some best sellers. These are names and titles you will hopefully be familiar with or looking forward to, things you need to get on the holds list for ASAP, because there's gonna be a list. Some fiction title picks for this month include The Author's Guide to Murder. This is co-written by 3 authors. The premise is that famed author Brett Saffron Presley has been found dead in a rented castle. The library is where his dead body is found, of course, and bizarre circumstances. So now a local Scottish detective must solve the case, and his 3 leads are 3 female authors. A sexy erotica writer, a mom with a cozy series, and an award-winning historical fiction writer. Next on the list is To Die For, the newest from Baldacci, which is 3rd in his 620-man series. Main character Travis is being followed by his nemesis, the girl on the train, while he's trying to keep 12-year-old Betsy in protective custody. Number 3, Janet Ivanovich, funny mystery as always. The premise is bounty hunter Stephanie is struggling with her personal life, and a killer case upends everything.
Did you run out of numbers? Yes, you did.
Well, I mean, it's the subtitle, 31 on the run.
Oh,
I don't know why she didn't go with that. You know, she should have gone with 31 on the run, but she didn't ask me, or I would have told her that was the title.
That's a way to make it make sense, right?
I mean, come on. Come on, Janet. Oh yes, there is still a number on there for those of you that need the numbers, yes. The latest from Danielle Steele is about a perfume business owner and widow, Delilah. She's visiting California for business, and a little romantic rendezvous is scheduled, but her plans are waylaid by some wildfires in California. The newest from local favorite Craig Johnson, Tooth and Claw, is a short story. Every now and then he writes like a little short novella like The Highwayman. This is in that style. Pulse pounding, bone chilling, focused on young Longmire and Henry Standing Bear, so back when they're younger characters. Facing off with a polar bear and a troublesome treasure hunter. The newest one from Rebecca Yaros is about a celebrated dancer returning home and unearthing years of family secrets. And there's probably a little romance with her Coast Guard co-star in the book. The newest one from James Patterson, but also Emily Raymond, Raised by Wolves, is a small town shaken up by 2 kids appearing who have claimed to have been living in the forest with wolves. The local officers can't quite figure out their story or their parents. And Robert B. Parker's Heart Property is the newest continuation of this series by Michael Pica. Main character Spencer is snowed in when his ever-present friend Rita, his longtime friendship, Rita's been found shot. So there's a long list of suspects. Apparently Rita did a lot of people wrong, and he needs to figure out who attempted to kill his friend and get to the bottom of what's happening. I'm going to proceed with some more hot picks, bestsellers, nonfiction variety.
We start off with President Bill Clinton, his new book, Citizen, My Life After the White House. That will be coming to us on the 19th of November. This is a powerful, candid, and richly detailed memoir from an American icon, revealing what life looks like after the presidency. When he was leaving office in January of 2001, first time as a private citizen in over 30 years, he was only 54 years old. And that led him to search his soul a bit to figure out how to make the best use of his years, his knowledge, his experience, his network, and to do some public service and advocacy work. And this is a story of how he navigated that interesting section of his life path. This is an illuminating account of an American democracy on a global stage, with the reflection of the past and fearlessly facing the future. It sounds like it's at least a hopeful story. Next we have What the Chicken Knows, a new appreciation of the world's most familiar bird. Get in line. I just think this is extremely interesting. Cy Montgomery is the author. This is an exploration of the special relationship between humans and chickens. I didn't know there was such a thing. Ms. Montgomery takes us inside the flock and reveals all the things that make chickens remarkable creatures, including knowing that relationships are important to them and that they communicate specific information through 24 distinct calls. Winning combination of personal narrative and science.
What is the release date on that one?
I love you, Becky. The 5th of November. Becky asked the best questions, and that time I was prepared. Share, the memoir. This is volume 1. This is the extraordinary life of Cher, as it can be told by only one person, Cher herself. This is going to highlight her remarkable career. She does have quite a list of accomplishments here. She's the only woman to top Billboard charts in 7 consecutive decades. That's a bit mind-blowing, right? She's won Academy Award, an Emmy, a Grammy, a Cannes Film Festival Award. She's an inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and she has been recognized by the Kennedy Center of Honors. This follows her extraordinary beginnings through childhood, up to meeting Sonny Bono and their relationship, and how that made them famous, and then what it was that's worth it. And of course, because it is shared, as a life too immense for one book, so it'll be volume 2. Lincoln versus Davis. This sounds like a pretty exciting piece of history. This is going to take a look at how the rail splitter from Illinois grew into this very critical role as a commander-in-chief at such a crucial point in our history, and how he managed to outwit Jefferson Davis, who was a trained soldier and a war hero, and the only conflict where 2 American leaders faced each other in a situation of war. So Lincoln was a country lawyer. He had only briefly served in a militia. He was considered to be inexperienced, indecisive, and a poor judge of people's motives. And he allowed his war policies to be sabotaged by fickle, faithless cabinet members, while entrusting command of his army to a preening young officer named George McClellan. And his defeat at Washington, D.C. put the country at the mercy of General Robert E. Lee, who was Davis's star general. So this is another point in our history, like the Revolution, where I'm going to guess when I'm reading this, I'll think if I didn't know how it ended, I would never be picking those Northerners to win this fight. But it was the story twists when Lincoln makes a very decisive and important decision, issuing as a military necessity of the Emancipation Proclamation. It has a huge impact on the history of our country. I think it's a very interesting snapshot of an important time. Looking forward to it. Next, the service berry. Have we ever heard of a service berry? Evidently, this can serve as a guide to demonstrating reciprocity and how a relationship with the natural world embodied by reciprocity can enhance interconnectedness and gratitude, challenging our economic and life model, where rather than each individual striving for self-sufficiency, it can turn our view toward wealth being the quality of relationships. And that comes to us from Robin Wall Kimmerer, who wrote the wildly popular Braiding Sweetgrass. She is a indigenous scientist.
Has the library a copy of Sweetgrass?
I'm not sure. I know I had it on Libby in audio, but I don't know about
It's probably on the
hard.
don't have a hard copy.
It
Hold on.
If you get it on audio, make sure you speed it up. Because Dr. Kimmer speaks very deliberately.
No, I read the book.
Next, we have Carson the Magnificent. This one also comes out on November 5th, which might be a good day to have a funny book. Anyway, Bill Zemi, who wrote the book, he got an interview with Carson in 2002, which was very rare at the time. Carson did not do many interviews. But he did the interview, and he was so taken by the information he got from the interview that he wanted to do an expansive biography, and he was granted permission to do that, but he passed away before he could finish it. So his notes and his original drafts were assembled so that this book could become available to the public, and it is of course, without Johnny Carson, we wouldn't have our late night rituals, our TV, our funny guys on TV at night, funny people on TV. And also, when asked by an interview in the mid-'80s for the secret to his success, Carson replied simply, "Be yourself and tell the truth." And I thought that was a beautiful thing, so I've got a bright blue highlight in my notes. The lost world of the dinosaur, not the lost. This is an enrapturing tale of the age of the dinosaurs, their origins, their reign for 200 million years, and their infamous demise. This is an all-encompassing exploration, perfect for anyone interested in the largest land creatures that have ever inhabited the earth. And Whitney has a sample of petrified dinosaur poop, if any of you are interested. I'm sure she'll go share.
Caprolite.
Huh?
Caprolites.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah.
It's a nicer word.
We're just calling it poop up to now. Kiki Palmer, Master of Me. Kiki Palmer is a very funny, very talented young woman. And she has written this book because she wants to talk about all of her struggles, her need to develop boundaries as an adult, her ability to give and receive unconditional love and forgiveness. These are all lessons that she has had to learn up until now. This book is described as deeply poignant and often laugh out loud, which I think we can expect good laughs from her. And the ending of the review has a quote from her. It says, "They said I was a jack of all trades, master of none. I said, no, I am the master of me." So it sounded like it'd be a fun, empowering story. You catch her on my password that she knows. She's hysterical.
Unintentionally, it's like a painting motif across the majority of these. first fiction novel is Running Out of Air by Lily Sutton. It is going to come out on November 19th. It is a novel of sisterhood, betrayal, and sacrifice. And this contemporary novel focuses on best friends and sisters, Evelyn and Sophie. They are one of the world's best mountain climbing duos. But when Evelyn decides to have an affair with Sophie's husband, the sisters are left reeling. They refuse to climb with each other. Years go by, and their sponsorship is at risk of being pulled unless they do a hike together. Will they be able to reconcile in time for this one last climb, or will this be their greatest challenge yet? Our first read-alike is Blue Sisters by Coco Malors. The three Blue Sisters, estranged for years, must return home after their fourth and youngest sister unexpectedly dies. This is a highly detailed story of grief and family, and how identity will take you down roads of addiction, ambition, and healing, and this emotional journey of coming home and self-discovery. And then our last read-alike is Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano. Thank you. I just said this in my head, no problems, and then I try to say it out loud, So Hello Beautiful is an emotionally layered story of family and loyalty with well-developed characters that asks, can love make a broken person whole? When William Waters meets Julia Padovano, it's love at first sight, and the two families come together, giving Will the love he never had growing up. Will their sisterhood, meaning the person he fell in love with, will their sisterhood and loyalty be able to survive this new family dynamic? Stuck with me again? Okay, next is Pony Confidential. It is a cozy mystery by Christina Lynch. It is also out on November 5th. It is a mystery with both heart and humor, told from the perspective of the determined and rebellious horse named Pony. After years of being passed from owner to owner, and the Pony takes it upon himself to find Penny, the little girl that once cared for him. When Penny, now an adult, is accused of murder, Pony must race against time and use his cunning to clear her name, find the real killer, and live happily ever after. With this feel-good mystery that has themes of friendship. It's a very whimsical read, and a perfect read-alike, in my opinion, is Perestroika. How can I say Perestroika? Perestroika in Paris by Jane Smiley. She'll be here later this month. Join Perestroika, a young and curious female racehorse who decides to leave her stable one night and travel through the streets of Paris. I want to say Becky brought this to Book Show and Tell last week.
I read that one.
Have you read that one? Yep.
Perestroika, I read.
Perestroika.
Very unique.
She is born in the stable. She decides to leave, and she goes off on a journey where she makes unexpected friendships with both animals and humans. Told in part by Perestroika and a young boy named Etienne. Did I say that right? Hopefully I said that right. It's a heartwarming read that ends on a good note, and it's all kind of nice and neat. So that's why I like that. I like a nice, tight, and neat story. The last read-alike for this is Trotting into Trouble by Amber Camp. It is another cozy mystery. The second installment in a horse rescue mystery series, say that 5 times fast, that follows horse rescue owner Mallory Martin as she finds herself in the middle of yet another murder investigation. She is juggling a new relationship, old friendships, and work responsibilities, and she has her fans' hands full in this cozy mystery filled with likable characters and unexpected plot twists, and it's perfect for fans of Amanda Flower, Maddie Day, Joanne Fluke, all those cozy mysteries we know and love.
Memory Dress starts out in modern England. Our main character, Jane, she's an introvert. She has an unexpected exchange with her elderly neighbor, Meredith. Meredith and Jane begin spending more time together, forming a friendship. Jane finds that Meredith cannot remember where her husband is. Jane finds clues, including a dress from Princess Diana. The story is interlaced with Jane's perspective, with Meredith's perspective, and where Meredith was working in the 1980s when she was a secretary to Princess Diana. So a little bit of historical fiction, a little bit of mystery in this one, a little bit of family drama, really intriguing. It reminded me of the Grace Kelly dress, which was about how when the dress was made for Grace Kelly, how it influenced a local dressmaker to make similar dresses. It was very popular at the time. So one of these copycat, style dresses of the Grace Kelly dress interacts with three different generations of this one family and interlaces through their lives and their love life as well. Also for fans of Fiona Davis, including the Chelsea Girls, a fictional peek into the lives of friends during the Red Scare as they feel pressure in the entertainment industry.
Here is our thriller on the list, April Storm by Layla Meacham. It is our thriller due out on November 12th. In this new thriller, a seemingly perfect and normal suburban housewife is being pursued on all sides in this much anticipated posthumous novel from the author, which was made possible by her husband and by Harper Publishing. She did pass away before this was finished, but they were determined to make this happen. Catherine Walker has a perfect and enviable life with an accomplished husband and bright children. All is well until the month of April happens. April brings with it memories of her miscarriage and a very bad time within their marriage. It is fraught with grief, emotion, and vulnerability, and when a private detective starts sniffing around, Catherine feels she is being hunted, her perfect life is getting turned upside down, and this is a fast-paced novel that will feature complex characters, has lots of twists and turns, and will keep you engaged. I'm not sure how it compares to her other writing because it is written posthumously, but from all the reviews that I've seen, a lot of people have enjoyed it so far. The first read-alike is A Stranger in the House by Charlotte Pena. She is a perfect read-alike thriller go-to. It's a fast-paced domestic thriller packed full of secrets and twists, all told through the voice of an unreliable narrator. Karen and Tom, they are newlyweds. They are happy with their lovely home and no kids. Their life is perfect until one day when Tom comes home and his wife is gone. The police come home and say that she's been in an accident. She has no memory of why she was leaving in the first place. All she knows is that when Kate returns home, something's not quite right and she feels that someone's been in her house, or so she thinks. The next read-alike is Such a Perfect Wife by Kate White. One day, perfect wife and mother Shannon goes for her regular morning jog in Lake George, New York, but she never makes it home. The disappearance shakes the sunny little tourist town, and Bailey Weggins gets involved. She is the local crime beat author. Join true crime writer Bailey Weggins as she investigates all possibilities in this twisty, fast-paced novel that will appeal to mystery, suspense, crime, and thriller readers. It's got a nice, really good blend of the whole kind of police procedural, but also has the twists and turns that you like with a thriller and that nice suspense buildup. And if this title appealed to you, you can check out the others in the series. They don't have to be read in any particular order, which is nice. They're just connected around the central character of the crime reporter, Bailey Weggins. And the first one in that series is If Looks Could Kill, and We Do Have It.
Next up, we have a historical action adventure story, Fire on the Horizon by Wilbur Smith. And this is Mr. Smith's third in the Valentine series. The Triumph of the Sun is the first book and King of Kings is the second. Takes place in South Africa, 1899. Hostilities growing between the Boers of Transvaal and Orange Free State and the British colonies. And Colonel Penrod Valentine is tasked with training soldiers for the fight. And 800 miles south of where he is, in Cape Town, Ryder Courtney is using his wealth and connections to bankroll the British war effort. Each of these gentlemen have families and wives that are going to figure into their decisions and how the story plays out. They are going to be two families torn apart and caught up in a battle for the heart of the country at war with itself. So that could be an interesting look at that time period. Read-alikes for this would be Bernard Cornwell's Sharpe's Command. This is number 19 in his Richard Sharpe series, and it won't be out until December of this year. But it's the Napoleonic Wars from 1803 to 1815. in France. Also, a read-alike would be Patrick O'Brien's Master and Commander, which also takes place during the Napoleonic Wars, but Master and Commander takes place at sea. So we have wars on several fronts, and it could be interesting to kind of contrast and compare. And the Master and Commander is number 1 in the series. There are several other volumes that follow that one.
I like
Oh, sorry.
That's good.
You good?
Okay. I like Bernard.
I know, I do too. I love his writing. Yeah. Next we have Rita Mae Brown, Time to Tell. This is book 16 in her Sister Jane series. Sister Jane is walking around on the property and she finds this crazy expensive watch. And she catches her eye because she knows it's very expensive. And then a few days later, she also finds a dead body. And because she's Sister Jane, she's very busy. She does not need to solve mysteries anymore. But this one fell in her lap, so how can she help it? So she is going to find the link. Murder, she's pretty sure a murder has taken place, and she is going to try to solve the problem before the murder strikes again. Rita likes, for her would be Lost and Hound is number 15. It's the one right before this one. And also A Farewell to Arfs by Spencer Quinn. Do you guys read, does anybody read Spencer Quinn? I don't, I have not read, but the people who enjoy him are like huge fans. Like, he's a lot of fun for them.
I love the title.
Yeah, this is crime fiction narrated by Chet the dog. And this is book number 15 in the Chet and Bernie series.
I think they're all about dogs in the series. Like Quinn's books are all about dogs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I learned when it comes to cozy mysteries that not all animals are the same or hold the same weight as people. Because if you like a cat mystery, it does not mean you like a dog mystery. Apparently they have a preference of the feline variety.
And don't mix them up.
Do not mix them up. I prefer dogs, so I would lean towards the Spencer Quinn as well. But here we have literary fiction. This is City of Nightbirds by Juhea Kim. It is going to be out on November 26th. It is a blend of literary and historical fiction that will transport you to the Russian ballet world in this novel of love, redemption, and second chances in a career ripe with cutthroat ambition. Once famous ballerina Natalia Lenova is returning to the ballet scene after an accident has temporarily halted her career, leading her down a road of pills and alcohol to numb her pain and grief. When Natalia gets a second chance at her dream, she must travel a road of love and forgiveness while also facing the past. This is a beautifully written novel that weaves past and present with strong and well-developed characters that will captivate readers as they navigate the highs and lows of life in the ballet. Our first read-alike is The Painted Girls by Kathy Buchanan. We have just learned that we're not quite sure what's happening with the physical copy, but we do have it on the book. It is a historical fiction novel set in 1878 Paris, featuring two sisters, Marie and Antoinette Van Gotham. They find their lives upended when their father dies, and they are facing eviction. With few options for work, Mary joins the Paris Opera, and Antoinette works as a stage extra. From here, the girls' lives will change, going in different directions, and both sisters will traverse the darker sides of life in the ballet. And then the next read-alike is Astonish Me by Maggie Shipstead. Part literary, part historical fiction. It is a beautifully written and emotional story centering around the world of ballet and how it impacts a mother and her son. Joan, who was a ballerina, her career ended when she moved from Soviet Russia over to New York with her dancer partner at the time. His dance career takes off and hers does not. This leads them to go down different paths where Joan gets married
next we have a very compelling historical fiction novel, Eleanor of Avignon. And this also comes out on November 5th, so there's a lot of things happening on there one day. This book is described as being rich with unforgettable characters, gorgeously drawn, and full of captivating historical drama. This takes place in 1347, where we meet Eleanor or Allie Blanchett, who's a young midwife and herbalist with remarkable skills. And what was happening in Avignon in 1347 was the Black Plague. So she is self-taught, pretty much. She tries to stay very quiet under everyone's radar, as women healers did in the 1300s. She meets Hugo de Chaulier, the enigmatic personal physician to the powerful Pope Clement, and he agrees to take her on as his apprentice. So she is able to combine her skills as a healer and her knowledge of folk medicine with anatomy, astrology, and surgical techniques. But the Black Death is raging on. The disgraced Queen Joanna is coming to Avignon to stand trial for her husband's murder. And of course, she is pregnant, which is going to necessitate Ellie's services as a midwife. The plague is spreading like wildfire, and Avignon population is desperate for a scapegoat. And a group of religious heretics launch a witch hunt, one that could cost Ellie, an intelligent, talented, unwed woman, everything. That is Avignon. And interestingly enough, these read alike. So Eleanor's story is 1347. This is a total coincidence, but I must share it. Okay, the first read alike I chose was To Calais, An Ordinary Time by James Meek. This is a story of three people who are all on the road to Calais, and they come from different places in Europe. One of them is from Avignon. And the story is very much relies on the presence of the plague, and it takes place in 1348. And then The Turn of Midnight is also about the Black Death in England, and it's about a group of people who have isolated themselves in order to survive, and they're at the point where we're running out of provisions. What do we do? How do we stay safe? Do we go out? So this story is about surviving the Black Death in England in 1349.
Whoa.
So, read them in order. How they want to read them.
That's crazy.
I just thought that was weird. I just was that today when I looked it up. I was rechecking my facts, and I'm like, can that be right?
Okay, I love that I just noticed this because I didn't notice it on the smaller screen. I love that they use the yellow brick road to spell out Toto. Very clever. So Toto by A.J. Hackworth, it's coming out on November 12th. It's considered fantasy and action. It's a delightful and snarky reimagining of The Wizard of Oz, told from the true hero and best character's perspective. Toto, the mostly good dog, is filled with various anthropomorphic characters and dripping with humor. Toto is a mostly lighthearted and enjoyable, fast-paced read. It features themes of friendship, found family, and good versus evil. And join the snarky canine as he ventures the magical world of Oz, all while trying to protect himself and the friends he makes along the way. Good read like would also be the Paris Running in Paris. If you like the idea of the talking dog or the talking creature, then we're gonna pick Starter Villain by John Scalzi. It is filled with humor and has a talking cat. So when Charlie unexpectedly inherits his uncle's supervillain business, the last thing he expects is to find the organization is being run by hyper-intelligent talking spy cats. It is fast-paced and plot-driven, filled with flawed and likable characters, has themes of belonging, and it is all told with a signature snarky tone and capitalized lots of swearing. If you like the more Wizard of Oz take on Toto, then a good read alike would be After Oz. It is emotional and whimsical retelling of what happens after Dorothy returns from Oz. When 11-year-old Dorothy disappears for a few days and suddenly returns talking about a fantastical land with magical inhabitants, the small town not only thinks Dorothy is delusional, but a potential murderer as well, shoving her in the Topeka Insane Asylum. Will we be able to uncover the truth in this small town full of insidious secrets? So, two different read-alikes depending on which element might appeal to you from Toto. And completely opposite. Now we're on to romance, specifically sports romance. It's been very popular lately. I don't sport romance, but
We just knew we were gonna get the pickleball.
I do love pickleball. So,
I've been waiting.
this is perfect book for me. So, pickleballers.
Who's gonna talk about the pickleball book?
Pickleballers by Lama Long. Pickleball is all the rage in this contemporary sports romance where Meg Bloomberg gets out of the one pickle relationship just in time for a new blooming courtside romance. And yes, it's gonna be filled with pickle puns. In this fast-paced, cheesy dialogue, romantic comedy, it's a battle of wills between two players determined to come into their own. Part journey of self-discovery for Meg and her dinking game. Part romance, this is sure to be a hit for both pickleball fans and romance readers alike. Will their love bounce back, or are they doomed to be pickled from the start? I love it. Our first real life. I had to fill it with once. Okay, our first read alike is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This has been insanely popular with a lot of our patrons, and it is a full series. Put on your coat and gloves, sit in the stands, and get ready for this contemporary enemies and lover sports, specifically hockey romance. Anastasia is a competitive figure skater who has worked all her life towards the full scholarship she received from the University of California. But when scheduling complications arise, she has to share the rink with the hockey team, specifically the captain. She's not very happy. In this sweet and steamy on-the-ice romance, will these riders be able to set their side their differences for a chance at true love? And the next read-alike is The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. It is the second installment in this particular series, The Campus Diaries. This one follows Diana Dixon, a cheerleader. She's working 2 jobs. She's moving on from a cleany ex, and she is trying to rehearse for a dance competition all at once. Enter a playboy hockey player. He moves into her apartment building, and she is determined to not let him get under her skin. When a chance encounter with Shane, Shane's ex, which is the player boy, Diana plays his fake girlfriend, and they can't deny their sibling attraction. Will something real be able to come out of this fake relationship? Sassy sports romance. I don't know. Ask Danielle. She really likes the sports romances. I recommend it. Didn't come there.
That's enough of that. Now let's talk about Murder Town, okay? So Murder Town is a sequel. The first one is Wake. So I'm gonna talk about Wake first to, set up the backstory. So in Wake, it takes place in a small town described as the harsh red interior of Australia with a sinister claim to fame. They are known for the unsolved disappearance of a young girl. There's a local young PI who's going to work with Mina, who is one of the women who live locally in this community with a bad reputation, because Mina finds some evidence, okay? So that's Wake. After that disappearance has been solved, things don't get better. Now the town is known as Murder Town, okay? And things have gotten so bad that there's what's described as a dark tourism company giving town tours and cash in on the events that happened in this first book, Wake, okay? So in Murder Town, local tea shop owner Gemma is a suspect when the tour's operator is found dead on her property. She thinks she knows everyone in the town. She thinks she can trust all the locals that she was born and raised with, but things change for her when she is the suspect of murder. It also made me think of The Dry by Jane Harper for read alike. This one is about a federal agent getting a mysterious note demanding his attention while he's returned home to attend a friend's funeral. It has a similar atmospheric, eerie feeling to Burr's Murder Town series. The next one, you know, if you need a little uplift after reading Murder Town, check out Brightly Shiny. This one promises to be heartbreaking, funny, and philosophical. Go with that, philosophical take on the power of dreams, the reality of addiction, and the kindness of strangers. This one takes place before Christmas. Young Rojan, I might be saying that wrong, it is a Norwegian author. So Rojan helps get her out-of-work dad a job selling Christmas trees for the season. But he keeps missing work. He is spending more time at their local bar. So Rojan and her sister step up to sell those trees and take care of each other. It reminded me of Deal of a Lifetime by Bachman, which is also a holiday tale of a man who misses out on his family while pursuing success, until he meets a young girl who changes his life forever. It also made me think of No Two Persons last year. It's about the story of how one book can touch all the readers completely differently, and is heartwarming and sweet. Not a Christmas tale, but a lovely read for people that likes books, and books have profound effects on them. I also have Those Opulent Days to talk about. I was really intrigued by this cover. There's a lot going on in this one. It's going to focus on 4 male friends that have grown up together. They're now adults, they're running their families' businesses, and it takes place in 1920s Vietnam. They have success, they have power, they have friendship. One of them ends up dead, okay? So the 4 gathered for a fun night together is how the story starts. They're having a party night, a night on the town, they're wildly successful, they're blowing off some steam together, and one of them is murdered. The rest of the novel is going to be told in flashback to reveal their history, their family history, more about their businesses, more about the week leading up to this murder. Their seemingly great lives are not so perfect. The story creeps closer to the murder, and each friend becomes a suspect. The tale will also hopefully appeal to some historical fiction fans for its depictions of glamour and French colonial Vietnam in the 1920s. This intriguing cast of characters, this limited amount of suspects, made me think of the style of the guest list, Lucy Foley. I really enjoy Lucy Foley. In this one, the guest list, it is a what's the word? A destination wedding kind of gone wrong, and so it's only limited to the people of the wedding. And we get to know the characters' backstories leading up to the wedding. It also made me think of The Storm We Made. This one I think is still on the news shelf. This is a tale of a Malayan mother who becomes an unlikely spy during World War II. This one has rave reviews, cannot recommend it enough.
So we have The Half King by Melissa Landers. It is considered epic fantasy, but as I read the description, it definitely classifies as romantasy, which is just that good blend of romance and fantasy all in one. It is a fast-paced new adult fantasy that will sweep you away to the realm of goddesses, magic, and curses. It is described as Beauty and the Beast meets the Sandman. So you got a little bit of, romance, got a little bit of creepy element to it. It is the first installment in a new series that blends fantasy and romance as we follow Cerise, an uncursed, magicless second-born, and Kian, a firstborn royal cursed to fade into nothingness at night. Will these opposites be able to come together, break the curse, and find love in this impending darkness? Our first read-alike is the insanely popular A Court of Thorns and Roses series. It's the first book in that series by Sarah J. Maas. It is also kind of a very similar Beauty and the Beast kind of retelling and shaping. It is steeped in rich world building as Feyre, the main character, is thrown into the realm of the Fae, where she must struggle to survive not only for herself, for her family, but for the Fae as well. After hunting and killing a wolf, Feyre unintentionally starts a chain of events and must break a years-long curse in order to free the Fae from tyranny and return home. Our next read-alike is going to focus on, it's more of a paranormal, but it still fits in the same vein of curses and magic. As a boy, Abyssian, aka Cian, met and fell in love with a Fae girl only for her to betray him and die before he can get his revenge. So millennia later, when she comes back and is reincarnated. He has been cursed to become like an ugly beast, and she is cursed to have no memory, so she's not understanding why exactly he's being so cruel to her. Will he get a chance for revenge, or will they actually get a second chance of love?
Christmas and Queen. A bit of biographical fiction. This is Christmas with the Queen by Hazel Gaynor and Heather Webb. They have co-authored this book. It takes us back to England when Queen Elizabeth I was taking over the reign from her father. At Christmas time, Christmas preparations are being made at Sandringham House in Norfolk, and Jack, a chef, and Olive, who is a reporter, are old friends, and they're brought together again as they're doing this work for the Queen and getting ready for her Christmas speech. She's trying to carry on that tradition of her father to give a speech to her people every Christmas, and she knows that this post-war Britain is something that's very different, so there's a lot of pressure to do this well. But the story's going to focus as well on Jack and Olive and how they continue to grow closer, working to help the Queen accomplish her goals. And of course, it has to have a twist to be a story, so Olive has a secret that can threaten their happiness. Read-alikes would be 3 words for goodbye. That is also by Hazel Gaynor and Heather Webb. It's a coming-of-age novel set in pre-World War II Europe. And Coronation Year is pretty entertaining
Not by me.
story. It is the coronation path has been identified, and along that path is the Blue Lion Inn, and it used to be a very swanky place, and it's hanging on by a thread. So the owner of the inn realizes that she can charge lots of money for her rooms and hopefully save her business and her home. So it's a pretty charming little story. And it's written by Jennifer Robson, not her. Same name. That's not your genre, is it? No. Next we have The Story of the Forest by Linda Grant. This is a family saga about the European Jewish experience from World War I to the present day. It begins in 1913 when Mina encounters a gang of unruly, charismatic Bolsheviks and decides to make that meeting into an adventure. And she and her oldest brother board a ship to England. While in England, her brother Jossel is in the military, and a soldier in his unit is wounded, and he tries to keep this comrade alive by telling him stories. And one of the stories he tells is a story about his beautiful sister Mina and how she will marry him when the war is over. Well, Jossel lives, and he does marry his sister, and this unites 2 families. It is based on the author's own family history and legends. So it's a remarkable record of family lore and meditation on the power of stories to ground us. Interesting premise and interesting focus on the stories. I chose for real-lives, I chose We Begin at the End because of the focus on the story and how the stories we are told and the stories we tell ourselves are sometimes contradictory as we go through our lives. And also from 2024, The Goddess of Warsaw by Lisa Barr. This too is a story, follows one young woman from the Warsaw Ghetto, where she is held in the Warsaw Ghetto as a young Jew, and follows her story. Lots of intrigue, lots of exciting things, but she eventually ends up being the top paid actress in Hollywood after the war. And this takes you through her adulthood. Very interesting story. She does not let go of a grudge. Okay, William Johnstone, who I discovered has been dead since 2004. But here's another volume. This is number 52 in the Last Mountain Man series. It was taken over by his son, but I didn't realize he was gone. Anyway, Blood Bounty of the Mountain Man. So this is a story of Smoke Jensen. He is shot in the head and left for dead. And the shooter was Reese Quaid. And Reese Quaid does not know that he has shot a legend by shooting Smoke Jensen. He realizes who the man is, and he says, "Hey, he looks enough like me, I'm gonna steal him right now." Okay, so this guy is a career criminal. Smoke Jensen is a highly revered and respected mountain man. And Quaid just decides he can rob banks and hold up stagecoaches and shoot anybody and just get away with it because he says he's Smoke Jensen. And by the time Smoke recovers, his look-alike is wanted for murder, his trail is getting bloodier, and Smoke is gearing up for the craziest showdown of his life with a force of nature called Smoke Jensen. So, identity mix-up. So for real likes, I chose one of the other Johnston stories. This is the Hanging Party. It is a new series this year by these authors. John Gage, who's also known as Texas Lightning, he wants to change his wicked ways, but there is no rest for the wicked, as we all know. And then I also chose I Was Anastasia, which is Ariel Lawhan's story about Anna Anderson. And she created quite a ruckus.
Doesn't look like a Western like the others.
It's not, no. I chose another aspect of the story to highlight, Carol. I know my audience. You're welcome. Next I think I was murdered. No, I know, I'm a liar. Now you're gonna have to wait.
Anticipation.
I have numbers on everything. I have everything in numerical order. So I'm not gonna mess it up.
We'll get there.
Thank you.
Or you could talk about I believe I was murdered and just thoroughly confuse everyone with the slide. We'll be okay. We'll get
I've
there.
done that the last 2 times.
Have
I'm
you?
trying to get it right this time.
So we're going to talk about Shy Creatures. You have a cliffhanger on the murder story. It's coming up. Don't worry. Shy Creatures is going to start in 1964. Our main character, Helen, is an art therapist working at a hospital. The hospital gets a phone call that 2 people are being brought in. They're being rescued from a derelict household. And then they start literally unpacking what's going on with these 2 people. They found out that there's a 37-year-old man who is mute and not speaking, and his elderly aunt, and they have been holed up in their home for more than a decade. They are trying to identify these people, and Helen uncovers that he is a successful artist, and she wants to know more. Shy Creatures is a life-affirming novel about all the different ways we can be confined and how seemingly ordinary lives are often layered with experience. It made me think immediately of Dear Edward, which is a story of a reclusive young boy, an interesting character, a unique story unfolding with beautiful writing. And also, I've not read Claire Chambers before, but Small Pleasures is her previous novel. This one sounds great too. This one is about a mother who's very secretive about her daughter's father. The daughter grows up, becomes an investigative journalist, and she used her skills, her connections to find out more about her past and her father with unimagined consequences.
I really liked Dear Edward. That was a
I
very-
really liked Dear Edward. I did not read Hello Beautiful, but Dear Edward was a wonderful book. We Three Queens is the newest from Rice Bowen. If you're waiting for this one, check out the previous in the series. The proof is in the pudding. The proof of the pudding, which is on shelves here. So I'm going to talk about the proof of the pudding first, just to set the stage. This one, main character Georgie's at home waiting for her baby to be born. She's throwing a housewarming party for her chef, and days later, guests become sick and one dies. Georgie has to figure out what happens to protect her and her chef's reputation. So that was last on. In the new one, We Three Queens, main character Georgie is back. Of course, this is taking place at her house. This one starts in 1936 as King Edward has fallen in love with Wallis Simpson, and he is struggling with whether to pursue his love or his crown. Georgie's husband is an acquaintance of King Edward and has agreed to host Wallis while she is in town visiting Edward. But accidentally at the same time, the estate has agreed to be a film location at the same time. Things are stressful enough with the newborn when a dead body is found on the movie set. Georgie's on the case, of course. For fans of this Rice Bowen series, also check out the Victoria Thompson series, the Gaslit Mystery series. The latest in this one is currently checked out, but it's Murder in Rose Hill, focusing on midwife Sarah Molly, her private detective husband Frank. They're discovering the cure is worse than the disease when they investigate the death of a young local woman in Murder on Rose Hill.
I still think I was murdered.
She may have been
I
murdered.
do. Okay, I think I was murdered. This is a Christian romantic suspense. Interesting category. This is a grieving, we meet a grieving young widow, and her husband, Jason, was killed in a fiery car crash. The CEO of her company, where she's feeling very successful, is indicted, and as the company's legal counsel, Katrina, the protagonist, faces questions. The feds take over and lock her out of her office. And then the final blow for her is she loses her beloved grandmother. She has a beta prototype for a new ultra-sophisticated chatbot that she's been playing with, loaded on her phone. And the contents of her dead husband's email, social media, backups, pictures, and every bit of data she could find on him are loaded into the bot. This allows Katrina to talk to him every day. And she's able to have conversation. And on a particular day, she picks it up and she says to him, "Tell me something I don't know." And what he tells her is, "I think I was murdered." This complicates all of her anxiety-producing situation. And we are going to see her navigate the paths of grief, family dynamics, second chances. And it's also going to bring up the complex question of how much control do we really want technology to have? So I think we're all probably going to be thinking about that over time. Rita likes My Murder. It is not necessarily about AI, but it is about a group of women who are murdered by a serial killer and they're brought back to life, of course, by the American government. And, some kind of computer magic stuff happened. And the twist at the end, it just takes every twist and turn.
Yes.
It's a little book, it's a really good, very cleverly written story. But it does make you think, do we really want to be able to bring people back from the dead? And then by Charlie Dyroff, Loneliness and Company. This is a 2024 debut novel, and it takes place in the near future. Secret Government Project has this young woman studying the impact of loneliness. And her mission is to train AI to be a friend to humans. And ultimately, she asked, how far should we let that algorithm go?
Daughters of Bronze. It's the much anticipated continuation of the legend of Troy that this author started with Horses of Fire. So start with Horses of Fire if you want the whole story, okay? In Horses of Fire, just to set the stage, it's going to be a fresh and female perspective on the 10 years of the Trojan War. It's going to be a continuation of this story into Daughters of Bronze, much of the same characters. It promises an immersive world and dazzling characters. So, Daughters of Bronze is of course going to focus on the retelling of Homer's Iliad, shifting focus to the female struggles and lives. Andromedy, thank you, is proving herself a leader and must unite the city as the enemies are closing in. Rhea is a Trojan spy and finds romance in the enemy camp. Helen is no longer a broken captive and she must get through her grief and use her healing gifts. And Cassandra has seen Troy's fate and must convince people to listen to her and step up and be a hero. So, great reviews, interesting characters, great setting, a lot going on in these ones. It also made me think of Atalanta, which is the reimagining of the myth of Atalanta, a fierce huntress raised by bears, and she was the only female member of the Argonauts hero group.
Which means the silence of the girls.
Also, okay, that's right. Breath of Oblivion. I picked all the sequels today because this is the sequel to Sweep of Stars. In Sweep of Stars, the author sets up the struggles of the Moangoan Empire. He's made up this name, so that's really how it's pronounced, says I. The Moangoan Empire is trying to be a utopia after Earth has fallen apart, essentially. It's unlivable. The inhabitants are sought to free themselves from endless war and oppression and are trying to form an alliance with Mars. The young leaders are struggling to motivate and train their group as they're taking on new enemies and making alliances. That was the Sweep of Stars. That was the setup. So in the new one, Breath of Oblivion, out next month, Captain Rowe's soldiers are stranded and attempting to capture an alien ship for a ride home. Okay, so that's got a lot going on already there. Also, at the Moangan Empire, Captain Stacia is struggling with crew turmoil and a new interstellar discovery that needs to get the crew working together. We will learn more about the government, the setup, the rebels, the Badlands, and a great cast of characters to keep this nation growing and going. Reading about these books reminded me of the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey. This one is a wonderful series if you have any interest in science fiction and interstellar galaxy travel at all. The first one in the series is Leviathan Wakes. It is also about people living on spacecrafts, and the politics that happen, and what happens when different nations often battle and form secret alliances to gain more resources. What sets this one apart for me is that it focuses on 4 characters that you get to know throughout this series who are unpredictable at first. Like, I found myself rooting for people that I didn't think I was going to root for, but they are wonderful, interesting, complicated characters set in space. So check that one out as well.
Dog. That's what I'm here for. Okay, back to Cozy Mystery. We have Murder at the Lemonberry Tea. It's by Darcy Hanna, and it's going to come out towards the end of November on the 26th. The name of this character, guys, Lindsay Bakewell. Owner of the iconic Lighthouse Bake Shop in Beacon Harbor. She is back at it again in the 6th installment of the Beacon Bake Shop series. When celebrity chef Vivi Lemonberry visits the bake shop, tension ensues as she kicks out Lindsay's dog and flirts with her boyfriend right in front of her. When Vivi turns up dead, Lindsay must wade through the secrets and the lies of small-town life in order to catch the killer in this fast-paced, easy-to-solve mystery with likable characters that will entertain you and keep you coming back for the next installment. And Keisha could see that's her little doggy. The next, I should say, the first read-alike is Murder at a Cape Bookstore by Maddie Day. I do believe I discussed this in a previous Books in Focus. Followed bicycle shop owner Mackenzie Mack and her book club as they solve a crime in the 5th installment of this Cozy Capers book group mystery series. Try to say that 5 times fast. A festival is happening in Cape Cod when the Chamber of Commerce director is found dead in the book nook, shortly after being seen arguing with the locals. Luckily for us, Mac and her crime-solving book group are ready to solve the murder in this fun and easy-to-read cozy mystery. And the last read-alike, featuring our friendly author, Murder Spills the Tea by Vicki Delaney. It's the 3rd edition in her Tea by the Sea mystery series. And it takes us to Cape Cod, where Lily Roberts' Charming Tea Room is hosting the hottest TV cooking show. And tensions between Lily and the cooking show staff ensues, resulting in a blowout on camera. When celebrity judge Tommy is found dead, suspicions mount, and Lily is not only racing to solve the murder, but finish all of her baking in time for the show. So it's a race against the clock in this baking-centered cozy mystery with quirky characters and lots of laughs.
The Estate by Sarah Jost. The Estate is going to tell us the story of art historian Camille LeRae. And she is a very successful art dealer, but she harbors a secret, and her secret is that she has the ability to enter into the world of the artworks, and she can take other people with her, which is an interesting piece of magic, but someone else finds out that she has this magic and that she has misused it, which leads to her being ruined. Her career becomes far less stellar than it was, and she is offered a job at a sprawling French estate by Maxime Foucault, who is an enigmatic aristocrat. And Camille gets sucked into the walls of his estate, where she finds a world of luxury and greed that causes her to risk losing herself and everything she has ever known. This is a bit of speculative fiction, I believe, and magical realism. Read-alikes that I selected for this one was The Cartographers. That was very popular.
I like that one.
Yeah, a few years ago. Nell Young's passion is cartography, which leads her to the discovery of a dark family secret, and also she begins to fully comprehend the power that lies in maps. The Cloisters by Katie Hayes from 2022, tarot cards and the secret of the Met Cloisters, which are researchers studying the history of divination. It's a masterwork of literary suspense.
Thorns, Lust, and Glory. Anne Boleyn has intrigued readers and people for centuries now. Many biographers and researchers have shared stories of her reign, her downfall, her husband, her death. In Thorns, Lust, and Glory, the author is going to focus on her formative years, the years she lived in France, and the things that happened that ultimately set her on her path to becoming queen. A new perspective on how her life started, okay? For fans of this period, this family, this very dramatic history, these are also on the new shelf, so some very recent read-alikes. Alison Weir is a historical fiction take on Queen Mary I, following Mary from her dramatic childhood through her reign, Queen Mary being the daughter of King Henry VIII, who married Anne Boleyn. And in this new biography, Young Elizabeth, an expert historian gives a detailed study of Elizabeth's early life and journey to become queen. And she, of course, was the daughter of Anne Boleyn. Okay, check out these wonderful tales. On the exact opposite side of the historic nonfiction section is a new biography. Focusing on Joan Didion. She was a beloved American writer, but often a little mysterious, a little elusive. Eve Babbitts was a sort of socialite At the same time as Joan Didion was a prolific writer, Ian Babowitz was the goddaughter of Igor Stradovsky. She was a nude model for Marcel Duchamp, and she was friends with benefits, with Jim Morrison. With Babbitt's passing in December of 2021, when loved ones were unboxing her house, they found some untouched boxes, and while sifting through them, they found intimate, diary-like letter exchanges between these two women during that time period. The height of success and celebrity for both of them. Full of these women's wit, writings, confessions, and disagreements, Didion and Babbitt will bring more to these women's storied lives. For another perspective on Joan Didion, actually, this Uptown Local is a new one that just came out. It's the Uptown Local, Joy Depp and Joan Didion. And it was written by her personal assistant who attended a lot of events, and she ultimately was mentored by Joan. So this is going to be a great peek into her life as well. It also made me think of The Castle on Sunset, Life, Death, Love, Art, and Scandal, Hollywood's Chateau Marmont, which has had many stars come through, live, hide, party, lots of legends ever since its opening in 1929.
That was an interesting eye-opener about some of the famous.
A lot of going on,
Yes.
yeah. A lot of complicated gossip.
So I got one of two ones. So we have Vanishing Treasures by Catherine Rundle. It is coming out on November 12th. It is a beautifully illustrated and well-researched magical book that contains essays dedicated to 23 unusual and underappreciated creatures that are currently facing extinction. From seahorse to frogs to ring-tailed lemurs, Rundle takes readers on a globe-spanning tour of some of the most awe-inspiring animals our world has to offer. It is a celebration of the natural world, its beauty, its fragility, and weirdness. It is for the quiet, contemplative reader that likes to get lost in nature. I want to put that one on. It was really cute. Our first read-alike is Atlas Obscura, Wildlife by Cara Giamo. It is bursting with information on over 500 extraordinary plants, animals, and more. And it also contains beautiful illustrations and photography on every page. It will take you all over the globe and stop on every continent. It is filled with first-person interviews and is a breathtaking collection that will take you on an adventure. Our next one is Beloved Beasts, and it's by Michelle, because I can't say the last name. A detailed and vibrant history of the modern conservation movement, the people who built it, and the animals they are striving to protect. It delves into our history of industrialization and the study of climate change. And our acclaimed science journalist Michelle discusses the importance of conservation not only for endangered species, but for humanity as well. And Atlas Obscura Wildlife is on the upstairs new shelf currently, and this one just got shipped out, so it's not here right now.
Blues in Stereo, the early works of Langston Hughes will be coming to us on the 19th of November. This is a look at the early works of Langston Hughes, 1921 to 1927. At this point in his life, he had no formal training. The poetry, songs, and stories he wrote were often on the back of napkins or envelopes, and were inspired by the sights and sounds of Black working class people he encountered in his early life. This includes the poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, and it has one of the most beautiful lines of poetry. I think it's quite beautiful. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. He was a very young man when he wrote that beautiful line in that poem. These are poems and journal entries that celebrate love as a tool of liberation and showcase the musicality of verse poetry.
Real-likes would be I Wonder As I Wander, his autobiography, and an introduction to his poetry.
The book coming out is only 144 pages, so it's not a big book. I think some of these other ones are a bit bigger.
Tree Keepers by Lauren Oakes is coming out on November 12th. And before I summarize it, I'm just gonna ask a quick question. How many of you have, paid to have a tree planted? You know, like you can do, like if, you know, someone passes, you can have a tree planted in their memory or anything like along those lines? Okay, perfect. So this actually, talks on tree planting, things along those lines. So from climate change to planting trees to preserving our forests, Oaks takes us on a journey of understanding what it takes to grow and regrow a forest and protecting existing forests and habitats. Trees play a vital role in our world, and our forests are necessary to fight against climate change. In this optimistic, timely, and meticulously detailed work, we get the opportunity to understand the world around us and to take action, no matter how big or small, in order to protect our future and the forests. Part of why I asked about the whole, have you ever planted a tree or paid to get a tree planted, is because we think that's very like conservation forward and is helping, and it is, but it's not as helpful as we're kind of saying it is. And these other read-alikes also delve into that same question of what do we need to do to preserve our forests. So our first read-alike is 12 Trees by Daniel Lewis. A compelling global exploration of survival in nature told via dozens of species of trees and the scientists trying to save our forested future. They wander through plant breeding labs, botanical gardens, research facilities, and all around the corners of the world to see the impact that trees have on the planet. One thing that I loved from the description, this is a direct quote, to study the science of trees is to study not just the present, but the story of the world, its past, and its future. And then next, The Power of Trees by Peter Wohlleben. In his previous works, Wohlleben revealed astonishing discoveries about the social networks of trees and how they communicate with each other. I'm very intrigued by this. He applies this research to his current work to talk about the importance of forestry management, tree planting, old forest growth, and the detriments of mass tree planting. Newly planted trees are more susceptible to disease, fire, and more, and they may not have the survival strategies that older trees have learned and communicated over time. This illuminating manifesto shows us the importance of old forests and how they adapt by passing their wisdom down through the generations. I like it all these because they're very interesting, how they all kind of tie together and talk about the same things in different ways. Yes.
Wohlleben is a really, really good author.
Yes.
I've read several of his books.
We have several of his books.
And I've read several of them.
This one, I believe, is published very recently. The
Yeah, I haven't
Power of
read that
Trees
one
is
yet.
very recent. But he has a variety of books, all talking about trees, climate change, things along those lines. But they do especially go into detail of how we really need to protect the existing forests, because the mass production of these new forests, we can't depend on that. They don't have that same communication and everything that older forests have.
And when they're cutting down old growth forests to make toilet paper and planting little baby fast growing trees, that just doesn't do it.
Nope, it just doesn't do it. So we gotta keep our old forests. That's it. Yes, tree keepers. I'm very excited about that one.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up with The Icon and the Idealist, Margaret Sanger, Mary Ware Dennett, and the rivalry that brought birth control to America. It comes out at the end of November on the 26th by Stephanie Gorton. This is gonna take us back to the 1910s as the birth control movement was being born. Two leaders emerged at that time, Margaret Sanger and Mary Ware Dennett. Mary Ware Dennett has really not made it through the century since she was active. She was very important at the beginning though. But Margaret Sanger founded Planned Parenthood and has remained very known throughout the country. But they each had radically different visions for what reproductive autonomy and birth control should look like. This book is going to reveal how and why they came to be activists, the origin of their clashes, and ways in which their missteps and breakthroughs have reverberated across American society for generations. Obviously, we are still steeped in this topic a to here, yeah. Realize the birth of the pill, how 4 pioneers invented sex and launched a revolution. The 4 characters that he talks about are Margaret Sanger, Catherine McCormick, Gregory Picus, and Dr. John Rock, all with very different pieces, parts of birth control for women. The rise of the new women's movement in America, 1875 to 1930, obviously the same time period. They're going to talk about a lot of the same things, and it's going to analyze the intellectual currents that ran through the politics, economy, sexuality, and social thought. So it's a very, very dynamic time in our history, just like now. All right, that wraps up Books in Focus for our November edition. Here is a copy of our calendar to remind you of all the activities we have going on for the rest of the month. There's many, many things happening. And please notice that November 12th will be our next Books in Focus. And in between there, we do have a fiction book discussion on the 5th.
And to let you know that the October book discussion for nonfiction moved, it is October 23rd is when we're discussing Mystery Mysteries. It had to get